The Chosen, Last Supper, Part 2, is a sermon that forgets to inspire. It tells the story of Jesus, who is addressing a massive crowd while the religious elite, led by a scheming Caiaphas, plot his quiet arrest. The premise sounds ripe for tension and revelation. Yet, what unfolds on screen is a bloated and preachy misfire that squanders its potential, leaving even the faithful fidgeting in their seats. This isn't the cinematic triumph the series devotees might hope for. It's a tedious detour that mistakes sermonizing for storytelling. The film picks up with Jesus in full orator mode, his words meant to stir the masses, but instead bogged down by an over-reliance on parable-heavy dialogue that feels more like a Sunday school lecture than a dramatic pivot. The religious leader's attempts to entrap him in his own words should crackle with intellectual sparring, but the exchanges lack sharpness reduced to predictable posturing. Caiaphas's nighttime arrest plan, complete with the tantalizing hint of a mysterious informant, promises intrigue, yet the execution is maddeningly sluggish. Padded with repetitive scenes of furrowed brows and whispered conspiracies that go nowhere fast. At nearly 3 hours, this installment feels like it's stalling for time, rather than building to a crescendo. Visually, Part 2 leans hard into the series' signature polish, with candlelit interiors and sweeping crowd shots that aim for grandeur. But the sheen can't mask a nagging sense of artificiality. Actors seem stranded on sound stages, not immersed in first-century Judea. The production values, while impressive for a crowd-funded effort, clash with the story's intimate stakes, making Jesus' crowd scenes feel like a CGI-enhanced spectacle rather than a raw human moment. The disciples, too, are sidelined, reduced to wide-eyed onlookers who nod along but rarely react with depth, undermining the emotional weight of what's supposedly a pivotal chapter. Jonathan Roumie's Jesus remains the linchpin, his soulful gaze and measured delivery carrying the burden of divinity. But here, he's trapped in a script that prioritizes reverence over resonance. Every line drips with gravitas, yet few land with the gut punch this story demands. The supporting cast are given little to do beyond looking concerned or confused, their talents wasted in a narrative that's more interested in hitting biblical checkpoints than exploring their inner lives. Even the hinted betrayal subplot feels telegraphed and undercooked, a missed chance to inject real stakes into the sanctimonious haze. What's most frustrating is how this movie betrays its own mission. The series has thrived by humanizing the Gospels, but this installment doubles down on a sanctimonious tone that alienates rather than invites. Where Part 1 at least gestured toward Jesus' radical disruption of the status quo, Part 2 settles for a plodding morality play, complete with heavy-handed lessons about faith and obedience that feel cribbed from a sermon outline. The theatrical format, meant to elevate the experience, instead exposes the cracks. Episodic pacing drags in a cinema setting, and the cliffhanger tease for Part 3 feels like a cheap ploy to keep audiences on the hook. This is a slog that neither entertains nor enlightens. The Chosen has always walked the tightrope between accessibility and fidelity, but Part 2 stumbles into a ditch of self-righteous inertia. If this is Holy Week's middle act, it's a passion play that forgets the passion, leaving us with a Jesus who's more statue than savior and a film that's more chore than revelation. It's not worth to spend time to watch this. We do not recommend this movie at all.